This is Chaz with another episode of Law Have Mercy. On today's episode, my producer Carter is going to ask some questions of yours truly. We handle car wreck questions and just about the podcast in general. I know you'll enjoy it.
Hey folks, if you're wondering why, if you're watching on the YouTube, there's a very handsome man in this seat, or if you're listening and you hear the velvety sounds of my voice, it's because it's me, producer extraordinaire Carter Simoneaux behind the mic, interviewing Chaz Roberts today on Law Have Mercy. Chaz, I appreciate flipping the tables this time around, giving me the chance to ask you some questions. Been working with you for about a year now. When I approached you, I followed your Instagram. I was a big fan of the content you were making, and you were really my first client with Acadiana Casts, and it's been a heck of a journey. We've improved the show from a tech standpoint. You've gotten better as an interviewer. I've gotten better as a producer, and you've also given me some advice when it comes to running a business. It's been a heck of a journey this past year.
Yeah, man. Well, I just first want to say thanks for dressing up today.
Hey, it's festival day, man.
I appreciate the Hawaiian shirt. No, Carter, man. Look, it's been great to work with you. It's been an ongoing journey, and I think we have done a lot of great work together. I've enjoyed doing this, man. I mean, I've spent some unbelievable time just reflecting on it and just meeting with so many cool people, reconnecting with people, serving the public, giving them so much information for free. I think it's been a real worthwhile venture. I look back and I'm like, why? How crazy was I to think that I would be on a podcast, right? And now, like, it just makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you for your contribution.
Well, I'm happy to do so. You've brought in so many guests that I've learned from, and we're going to get into some of that in a little bit. But I got to ask you, like, what does Law Have Mercy mean to you?
All right. So the purpose of Law Have Mercy is I wanted to bring smart lawyers on in different areas of law to provide the general public with free legal education, okay? Because I came from a small town. I didn't know any lawyers growing up. My family didn't know any lawyers growing up. So I'm really trying to serve my family of 25, 30 years ago, right? And so if I was in that situation, well, then I know there's a lot of other people that are in that situation. And so, yeah, that's my goal, and I think I've done a good job of accomplishing that goal. And then as I've gone through so many lawyers, I realize like me being a lawyer gives me access to a lot of cool people like Cupid, like Raymond, like Daniel, and they all have something to offer in terms of mindset. What made them successful? What made them achieve the highest level of success in their particular industry? And so I want to pick their brains since I have access to them so that they could potentially inspire that same group of people who could benefit from the legal services.
Yeah, and from the legal standpoint, being a civilian, a non-lawyer, you never think about the law unless you actually need a lawyer. And so this show really helps serve that. It's given me a lot of information that I've passed on to friends. I've recommended episodes to friends and family members as well.
So have I.
Yeah, right.
So someone contacts me and says, hey, man, I got a legal question about if I need a patent for this type of thing. Do I need a trademark? I said, here. Boom, I'll send them Sarah's episode on intellectual property. Somebody calls me and has divorce questions. Boom, I'll just literally text them. Look, listen, spend an hour of your time and you'll know more about divorce law and child custody law than 99% of people.
Yeah, it's some of these really serve as almost like a webinar or a master class. If you're just getting into, like, if let's say you're going through a divorce, unfortunately, that's a great episode to kind of get you started in the process, give you some back information that can prepare you for this wild journey you're about to go on.
Yeah, and here's the best part. It's free, right? And if you don't like listening to it on a podcast, you go on YouTube and you can watch it. And if your attention span is like mine or yours, where you don't want to listen in an hour, you can watch a 30-second clip on Reels on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok. So I've really tried to make it easily digestible no matter where. I want to meet you where you are and maybe get you interested in it, and then maybe you'll see a 30-second clip and maybe you'll listen to the full hour. I think it's a worthwhile investment. Look, when I was in school, it cost me $70,000 to get a legal education. Right now, that's probably $200,000. And so and then not to mention 10, 15, 20 years of experience, the what to do, what not to do. and all those at bats and all those reps. I'm bringing these experienced people on, and you get all of that information for free. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm so grateful to all the lawyers that come on, and they say, well, Chaz, do you get business from it? Well, I don't know, maybe, but I know a lot of the people that have come on have gotten business from it because a lot more people getting divorces than car wrecks, I guess. But good for them. Good for my friends who've come on the podcast and they get business because they gave me an hour of their time and shared their life's endeavor, their life's goal, their life's passion, with the audience for free. So I'm really happy for my guest as well.
Yeah, and to start off, you really brought on friends of yours, people you've met or people you've met through your work, but it's always kind of followed a line of, are you interested in it? Is Chaz Roberts interested in it? And that comes through in the episode. Like, you're actually intrigued, and that helps the viewer or the listener also get into it because you're so interested in it. With that being said, what have been some of your highlights for maybe some of the ones that you weren't expecting for you to enjoy as much as you did?
Wow. You know what's crazy is I have a good base of a lot of different areas of law because when coming up, I did so many different areas of law before I became a personal injury lawyer full time. So I have a pretty good base and I had a pretty good understanding. That's why I'm able to ask pretty good questions. But I always learn something in every single episode. I think back to the episode with Sarah on Weissman Anderson, who is a cyber lawyer.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't know what a cyber lawyer is. I was trying to prepare questions before she got here. Not only did I enjoy reconnecting with an old friend that I hadn't seen in 10 years, but she scared me shitless.
Yes, especially with how active you are on TikTok and
emails and spam accounts and some of those things. Like, I went in and I started putting some action into what she was. I locked my credit score based on her advice. Like, I've learned at least one thing from every single guest, even the non-lawyers, right? When Raymond was on, he was kind enough to come here right before he was headed to Michigan to go play football, right before training camp. And when he, not only told us about Tom Brady, but just how intense practice is and how practice is actually harder than the games. I never thought of that. Yeah. I never thought about the sacrifice that those guys made. I never thought about when somebody gets injured in the NFL, they're on an island. They're at home, all right? And they have all those thoughts going through their head, and they deal with struggles. People see the glitz and the glam. They don't think about the struggles that those guys have.
Yeah, you relate to that being a personal injury lawyer. You probably have clients who go through that same exact struggle.
Yes, it's really it hit home. And he was actually talking about how he made a decision to go to college based on his dad's injury from a car wreck. The man that made it all the way to the NFL decided what college to go to based on his father's injury that resulted from a car wreck. That hit home, because you see when people are dealing with pain, you can hear them talk about pain, but you don't think about the family that's involved and the community that's involved that revolves around a person. So when they're hurt, it hurts everyone. Yeah.
Well, I've like I said, I've learned a lot, and I know now why it's very important to hire a lawyer after an accident. I've been in a few accidents myself, not in the past 5 years. So
should have called me, bro.
I didn't know you back then. But for our audience, why is it so important to hire a lawyer?
All right, I can go on a rant here, but this
for it.
is to me, there's three big reasons, right? Number one is we're a sword and a shield. All right, so we have the power to file lawsuits. We have the power to try a case in front of a jury. Okay, so the average person is not capable of filing suits, trying their own case. So the fact that we have that we can attack them, right? We have the sword, puts them on their heels. Okay, and so that makes them open up their checkbooks because we pose a risk of getting a huge runaway jury verdict. Okay. The other thing is we shield them So they don't have to speak to an adjuster anymore. They don't have to speak to a defense lawyer. We protect them from others, and we really protect them from themselves. Like, why would you post on social media? Be careful, there's surveillance. We are shielding them from bad things that they don't even know exist. The other thing is we have significant resources. We're able to hire doctors and accident reconstructionists and life care planners and economists to bolster their claims, bolster their case value, right? And so we know, like, if you get hurt here and you need a shoulder surgery, who's the best shoulder guy in town? You don't know. Who's the best spine guy in town? Who's the best ankle guy in town? You don't know those guys. I got those guys in my cell phone. I talk to those guys regularly. I can tell you who will give you the best level of care. Okay, so we have resources. And I think the third and final thing is we know what cases are worth. Okay, so we know every verdict and Court of Appeals award and Supreme Court award in every particular jurisdiction. Lafayette Parish is different than St. Tammany Parish, where you're from. That's an extremely conservative district. People in St. Landry Parish have nothing in common with St. Tammany Parish. Bossier has nothing in common with St. Martin Parish, right? So every jurisdiction is different. A lawyer studies this and knows what a broken arm is worth in Opelousas versus New Orleans, okay? And so that knowledge helps us put together a better presentation to the insurance adjusters, the defense lawyers, a jury, and that really maximizes your case. You might think, Carter, off the street, that $5,000 is a lot of money for a broken arm. I may say, Carter, that's actually a $65,000 injury, buddy, right? And I can take that to the finish line. So if you want to maximize your case value, you need a lawyer, because lawyers know what cases are worth and will not settle for less.
I want to break down some of those things because one of them, and I didn't realize, I guess, to the extent until the last interview that we did with Crystal, the insurance adjusters and different parties reaching out to the client, to your client, or just the person who was in the wreck. Can you expound upon that even more? Because that's wild to me. I never thought about that aspect, that all these other parties are reaching out, trying to
settle your case, right? So if you get in a wreck, as soon as they have Carter's phone number, they're going to be trying to call you. And you may actually initiate the call because you're trying to get your car fixed. And they're going to say, hey, Mr. Carter, why don't we send you $1,500 so you can take care of your medical bills? And all you need to do is I'm going to email you a document and just DocuSign it. Don't even worry about it, man. It's all good. And what about my future injuries? What about my Hey, we'll take care of that. Just sign that DocuSign so we can move forward. Boom. They got you to sign and release your case. You're done. You're out. It's a DocuSign is written. It's valid. Okay. They can also say, okay, Mr. Carter, we want to just ask you a few questions about your injuries. You told the cops that you were okay, so you're not really hurt, are you? Well, I mean, I'm sore. Man, that's all recorded. Or you may be talking about your neck injury, but forget that your back is also hurting and that your left pinky finger is also hurting, but because you're more concerned about your neck and you forget those things. Well, 3 months down the line, we have a workup for all those injuries, and they say, oh, no, we have Carter on a recorded line saying X, Y, Z, saying that only his neck hurt. All right? They're not your friends. They're going to try to contact you. You hire a lawyer, we send a letter immediately. I'm about to sign up a case downstairs in 30 minutes. Before the end of the day, the insurance companies that get a letter from us that says you cannot contact my client anymore. Okay, so that's where we provide that shield. Now, it relieves his stress. It relieves the burden. It relieves playing phone tag with insurance companies. So there's some practical things that are going to benefit him. But even more important, it's going to preserve his case, right? He's not going to settle his case, and he's not going to say some stuff that he shouldn't have said on a recorded line.
Or on social media. I just have a story to tell. I want people to understand.
Yeah, people love social media, man. I mean, I'm a big fan from a business perspective. If you look at my business page, I have umpteen 100 posts. If you look at my personal page, my last post is like from 2010, right? Like it's just, people love social media though, man. And they can't wait to tell people that they've been in a wreck, or they can't wait to flex and show themselves in the Bahamas. And those types of things can ruin your case. I give a pamphlet to all of my clients and say, here's what you got to look out for: social media, surveillance, talking to people, talking to adjusters.
Now, you mentioned that the law firm will recommend doctors and healthcare providers after an injury.
Yeah.
How did you develop that list? Was there any trial and error involved?
Yeah.
Did you trust people that give you the right recommendations?
Yeah. When you say like the lawyer told the client where to go, if you're looking at it from a if you're looking at it from a pessimistic view, glass half full, half empty, I'm sorry, it says, well, the lawyer's doctor shopping, right? That sounds like, could potentially sound bad. It's not, though. It's the opposite. It's a client has been hurt and doesn't deal with doctors every day. They don't deal with spine doctors every day. They don't deal with shoulder doctors every day. So they really have no knowledge. Most people just go to the emergency room or just go to their family doctor. A lawyer, from their experience, has seen who does good surgeries, who has good bedside manner, because I get the feedback from my clients, and then I see their reports and I see who writes good reports. I talk to other lawyers, and I've been in court, and I see what doctors testify well, what doctors have credibility because they handle car wreck cases, but they handle not car wreck cases. They've represented plaintiffs and they've represented defendants, so they call it down the middle, right? So that comes from expertise, from reps, and just time in the market and understanding them. Yeah, good question.
Outside of the law firm, have you, I know your kids are super active in sports, you know, you're an athlete yourself. Has there been any recommendations to friends and family outside of work for doctors?
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you, like, I have family that are dealing with health issues, and I can direct them to the same, and I would send them to the same people that I send my car wreck clients to, right? Because I will not send my car wreck client to someone that I would not go to, because it's bigger than the case. I want them to get the best level of treatment. So yes, I've been able to refer different people, and I use the same people that we use as part of car wrecks. I send to the best doctors in town. That's
such a great byproduct of what you do, that I don't know if you ever even thought of that when you wanted to, that first thought of becoming a lawyer, that, oh, I can also help my family members by cultivating all this knowledge when it comes to the medical field in the area that I live.
Yeah, my mother-in-law was asking for some advice recently, and she's a nurse, so she has a very high standard for doctors. And I was like, okay, let me give you these 5. This one does this, this one does this one's good at this and not so good at this, and she appreciated. That's like one of the selling points. They have a house in Baton Rouge, a house in Lafayette, and they're looking at moving, and I was like, that's one of the selling points to be here, because I know every medical provider in town, and I can direct you the best way possible.
Well, me personally, Chaz, I like to be prepared. I was a Boy Scout. I made my Eagle. I worked hard to get that. But, you know, preparedness is big in my family. My dad's in the safety industry. So he's always the one during a storm, just like peeking out the window, making sure that the storm's not going to get us. But when it comes to driving around, as we all do, or most people do today, what are things that I and the audience can do to proactively prepare myself, without, you know, never wishing for a wreck, obviously, but preparing myself in the event that does happen?
Most people don't think that bad things will ever happen to them. People actually don't think they're going to die, which is crazy. You know, like, people don't, I think we're programmed that way. Like, we don't expect bad things to happen to us. But statistically speaking, most people will be involved in a car wreck at some point in their life. Okay. And so what I recommend, 3 things. Number 1, get a safe vehicle. All right. You can Google safety ratings. You want to buy a safe vehicle. Number 2, drive defensively. All right. Here's a good example. When you get to a traffic light and the light turns green and you're the first car, pause, wait a second, look both ways, and make sure that somebody's not about to run the light. How many times have you been at a light and you paused and you see a car just fly by, and you're like, look, if I was a super aggressive, I'd have been hit, I'd have been killed, I'd have been T-boned. That has happened to me a dozen of times. You never want to be dead right. Okay, you never want to be dead right. That happens in merging situations. That happens in high traffic, high stress situations that you just want to be a little bit more aggressive. That's when bad things happen, right? If it's raining outside, leave early, or leave late. You don't want to be in the mix with everyone else. All right, and it's the third thing, and it's the hardest sell for me, but this is the drum that I bang all the time, is get uninsured motorist coverage.
There it is.
There it is. You're tired of hearing about this. And look, not only get uninsured motorist coverage, but get the most you can afford. What does uninsured motorist coverage do? It protects you from the bad acts of other people, okay? So it covers you if the other person doesn't have insurance, which, by the way, statistically speaking, there's a lot of people that don't have insurance, like more than you think. And it also protects you if they don't have enough insurance. All right, so if you go to an ambulance, all right, if you take an ambulance and you go to an emergency room, you're looking at $7,500 off top. Emergency room's not going to do anything for you. They're going to give you medication, send you on your way. You haven't even begun the recovery process. You might need therapy. You might need injections. You might need surgery one day, unfortunately. That's $150,000 that I just rattled off. Okay, who's going to pay for that? You missed time from work. You missed 3 months from work. You heard Crystal talk about being out of work for 18 months. Who's going to pay for that? You have to have uninsured motorist coverage because that folds on top of what the other person had. Okay? If FedEx hits you, you'll be okay. You don't need uninsured motorist coverage. I'm saying okay from an insurance perspective. I'm not saying okay from a physical perspective. But if it's the other 6 out of 10 vehicles on the road, because that is the statistic, 6 out of 10 either have no insurance or minimum, you're going to be screwed. You're going to have to come out of pocket. So buy uninsured motorist coverage, add it to your policy. You're presumed to have it. You actually have to reject it. And most people think, I got full coverage, I'm good. I can't tell you how many times someone told me I have full coverage and they did not have uninsured motorist coverage. What people think that they have full coverage, that means they have collision. Okay, and collision is important. Collision is if you put your car in a ditch in a single vehicle wreck, is going to pay for your car. If the other person doesn't have insurance and hits you, is going to pay for your property damage. Okay, that's what collision is. Comprehensive is hail, theft, something other than a car wreck, right? Rental coverage pays for your rental while your car is being repaired or while your car is total loss. But uninsured motorist coverage protects your body. You would not believe how many people care deeply about fixing their car and don't really care about fixing their body. It boggles my mind. This is your one body that you have for the rest of your life. For crying out loud, protect it. Pay just a little bit more money on your insurance policy. And it's really not that much more.
I kind of have a hypothesis, and I want to kind of pick your brain on it. But with the convenience that we have in today's society when it comes to things like Amazon, like same-day delivery, we've got DoorDash, Uber, ways to get around easier. Social media has kind of helped shorten our collective patience along with this convenience. Yeah. To relate that to driving, I've caught myself being in everyday life, not just behind the wheel of a car, but finding myself a little more impatient. And hearing you talk, it helps me when I'm driving. I've thought of you before, and I've actually kind of slowed down a little bit or being a little more patient so that I'm not hitting that guy who runs the red light at the very end. You know, do you think there's anything to that of our collective patience being dwindled and that affecting how we drive?
Yes. I think I went to a conference a while back, and the guy's thesis was your competition is not the law firm down the road. It's Amazon, Apple, and all these other things that have made life super easy. And I didn't really get it at the time, but it speaks to what you're saying right now. Everyone's used to one click, one push, and so as a lawyer, I realized that people are going to have unrealistic expectations of me because of how easy the iPhone is to use or how easy it is to push a button and get an immediate response at Amazon. So I keep on lifting the bar with my legal services. That's not the question you asked, though. You asked if just collective patience is less, and that adds to some of the road rage or, some of the problems that you see on the road. And I think the answer is absolutely. I think that people's expectations and patience have changed dramatically in the last 5 years, and I think that has led to more wrecks. Not to mention, people might be checking out on Amazon while driving. People are scrolling social media while driving, right? People are texting while driving. And so that's added so many more complications and led to so many more car wrecks.
Well, kind of getting close to wrapping up here, Chaz, I want to talk a little bit more you personally. From what I've seen and from the stories I hear, you're a great father. You're super proud of your kids. You were just showing me one of your sons, his progression from 5 years old to 7 years old, throwing the football. Yeah. How does being an attorney, and especially what you do, how does that affect you as a father in any way, if it does?
I think, first of all, being a father made me a better lawyer. All right, and it's not being a better lawyer made me a better father. Being a father made me a better lawyer. So when I get a client, and I've talked about this in recent podcasts, is that the client that I get, I'm seeing someone in them, so I can relate to them. Okay, so if I represent a single mother, I remember my mother. If I represent a child of a single mother, I see myself. If I represent a mother of young children, happily married, and this has taken a toll on her marriage, her responsibility as a mother, I see my wife. If I represent an older client, I see my grandmother that I spent so much time with. If I see a father of a family and know how important the father is to that unit, I see myself, right? And so I don't think that I had the level of emotional understanding until I became a father to understand that piece of it. So I would say being a father has made me a better lawyer, and I do try to bring my children around the office, and I actually let them hear some of the conversations I have with my clients so that they can build that empathetic muscle and that muscle of service and kindness to others in their time of need.
Do you see law have mercy? The conversations that you have, these open conversations where you get to kind of peel the onion that is Chaz Roberts, but also some of these other people in front of a camera, on a microphone. Do you see that as a way as almost a gift to your children?
Absolutely. And that's my biggest sales pitch when I'm trying to get people on the show. I was like, look, if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, your kids will have an hour-long video and recording of Wesley Gauger on April 24th, 2024. They will see how you looked, how you act, how you spoke, the pride in your eyes when you talked about what you do, the pride in your eyes when you talked about your family. And for me, it's cool that now I have almost 50 episodes in. And so if something happens to me, my father died at 51. My grandfather died at 37. You know how cool it would be to go back and listen to hours and hours of them BSing with their friends? Yeah. I would give anything for that.
I saw an old video of my grandfather who passed away before I died, my dad's dad, just an old home video, and I heard his voice for the first time like last year, and it was super beautiful and just really, really cool to experience that. So yeah.
Well, and look, if they never listen to it, that's fine too, but it'll be there for them, and it'll be there for my grandkids. That's one good thing about the podcast is that it's evergreen. It's going to live somewhere in the digital space forever, hopefully. It's not like the compact disc. I don't know where all my CDs are, man. I was looking for my Chili Pepper CD the other day.
We got to burn those. Well, law have mercy. Where does it go from here?
That's a great question. I'm learning every day. And every episode, I feel like we get a little bit better. We hone in a little bit. But I'm just going to build. I think too many people in life have to have the end goal in sight before before they even start, and they get paralysis by analysis, and they never actually start. And for me, I like to start and then fly the plane as I'm building it. And so I don't know where it's going to go, man, but I know that every single episode helps someone. And to me, if I help just one person per episode, it's a worthwhile venture.
Well, Chaz, I appreciate you, man. I can honestly call you a friend, a mentor, and my lawyer whenever that day comes. It's been really cool. I love sharing some of the stories that I've heard just sitting behind the producer desk over here, that you're able to get from some of these guests, really valuable information, and I'm happy to be on this ride with you and take this thing to the moon, and at the end of the day, most importantly, is help people, and I've surrounded myself the past few years with really empathetic folks like a John Williams, like I just mentioned, and people who care about others. You know, the slogan of Love of People is helping others help others,
right?
And you live that to the T, and it's cool to be around your orbit and see how you operate and how you treat people, and you've had all the success in the world, and it shows.
Well, I appreciate that, and you know what? You reached out to me first and said, I think you would be great on a podcast when you were just watching the social media stuff. And not only did you put the bug in my ear, but you also created the capability to do so. It would have taken me years to be able to figure this thing out, and you were able to jump in and help put this thing together, and that means a lot to me. And I consider you a friend as well, and keep doing the things you're doing, man. And you're a cultural ambassador, and you've done a lot in the community, like what you just mentioned. So I really appreciate you, and thanks, man. I look forward to working with you.
Well, Chaz, real quick, remind folks where to follow you.
Follow me on social media, any page, Instagram, Chaz Roberts Law, TikTok, Chaz Roberts Law, and make sure you subscribe to Law Have Mercy. I look forward to putting out a lot of good content. Stay tuned, guys. I will not let you down.
See you.
Hey, it would mean the world to me if you subscribe to the podcast and leave us a 5-star review. It helps keep the show free, and it helps us book better guests to provide more valuable content to you. None of the opinions expressed by my guests are that of my own, and nothing we talked about creates an attorney-client relationship or could be construed as legal advice. Hope you enjoy the show.
This podcast is powered by Acadiana Cast Network. Go to acadianacast.com for more South Louisiana sourced content.